Hello, it is I, Miss Ledberg, and I am here to help you with your active read. We are going to do another primary source, which requires some additional assistance, so I am here to be that. If you notice, we are looking at Pope Urban's speech today, um, and I thought that this picture was really funny because it's Pope Urban and he's supposed to look urban. It's probably only funny to me. But anyway, in Clermont, France, Mr. Herman has been telling you that at this point we have a group of people who have decided that they're going to take up arms. Um, we have a pope that's encouraging them to take up arms and go and fight and looking towards Jerusalem. And one way that he does that is through a specific speech. And we're going to look at two sections of the speech today. So, if you are in Canvas, please go ahead and click on God Wills It. And we're going to actually click here to open up our Cami, which looks like this. Let's get me up and out of the way here. Okay, so as always, go ahead and type your first and last name into the line and circle your teacher of record. We are going to just determine the purpose for reading here in just a second. But you will notice that we are underlining for focus. I would like three connections. I would like two images. I would like one question. And don't forget, you can use the picture to help you out if you need to find a connection or a question. You can use the picture and you can actively read the picture as well. So let's talk about the purpose. As you, of course, know, this is where we determine what are we reading for. And in this case, we determine that by looking at the title. The title is Pope Urban Speech. Can't get any simpler than that. Put that in the form of a question, and we're going to be good to go. What did Pope Urban say in his speech? That is what we're looking for. Okay, so this whole, it's not very long actually. Mr. Herman and I have cut it down dramatically. But if you notice, there is this one section up here and there is this one section down here. And so we have taken these two little snippets of the speech and our goal is to determine what did he say in it. Now, I'm sure that Mr. Herman has started to talk about the fact that he, the Pope, Pope Urban, is whipping up the crowd. He has a purpose. He wants these people to go on the crusade. And so, in going on the crusade, he has to get people to go. In order to do that, he's going to use propaganda. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about propaganda in the next week or so. But in order to do that, he is going to use several things. One of them is this idea of fear to get people engaged in doing something that he wants them to do. So, if we look at the directions, it says to actively read the following passages and annotate them heavily, meaning lots of stuff. Let's start at the beginning. Pope Urban speech at Clermont, France. The Muslim Turks are masters of the cruelest torture. Of certainty, the servants of hell have no greater skill. With swords, they split the bellies of peaceful Christian men, children, and women with child in search of gold and jewels. They violate Christian men with circumcision and pour the blood thereof on altars and into baptismal fonts. If that didn't conjure up some imagery in your brain, you probably don't know the vocabulary words. This is very specific. So let's start at the very beginning. What does Pope Urban say in his speech? He says that there are Muslim Turks. I'm going to use my highlight tool here. There are Muslim Turks, okay, who are splitting the bellies of Christian men, children, in search of gold and jewels. Okay, so let's go with the beginning. What kind of connection can I make here? What do we know about Muslim Turks? Well, we know a lot about them because we've talked about Muslim Turks before. So, I'm going to use a text box here so we don't get too far out of the way so you can see where we're looking. Oh, there we go. Okay. Muslims are people who follow God and Mohammed. Remember that dude Mohammed from the beginning? Okay, we talked about him many moons ago, it now seems. So, Mohammed, I'm going to just make this a little smaller so it fits in my text box. There we go. So, Mohammed is this guy. He sets up this religion called Islam. This is who we're talking about. So, these are people who live in Jerusalem. They're Muslim. And how does he describe them? He uses very specific imagery. He says that they are worse than the servants of hell. Worse than the servants of hell. So, down here, I want us to kind of write down what we think, to summarize, what Pope Urban says about these people. So, I'm actually going to make a list of what he says. He says that they are worse than the servants of hell. Who are the servants of hell? You know exactly who they are, right? They're helpers of the devil or Satan. So the Pope is comparing the Muslims who are living in Jerusalem to the helpers of Satan. He also says that they are cutting open men, women, and children looking for gold and jewels. He also says that they are filling up the baptismal font with blood. Okay, now the only one that you probably have a question about is baptismal font. So I'm actually going to, hopefully, how do I get rid of this? There we go. I want to look for, I'm going to go and search for a baptismal font. Okay, now this should look relatively familiar to you. If you've ever been in a church before, you probably have seen something in the front of the sanctuary that looks like any number of these things. It's where little babies are baptized. So in churches, you might see, I'm going to select that one, I think. Stick it here. You might see something that looks very similar to this. And this is what the priest would fill it with holy water, and a child is baptized into the church. And they're saying that the Muslims are taking and filling these with blood. Okay? Probably not the best thing. Probably not the best thing. So at this point, we know that these are Muslim Turks. We know that they are doing bad things. We know that they are filling the baptismal font with blood, all kinds of not goodness. Okay? So far we have a connection here. Okay, so one of our connections is right here. We have an image right here, okay? And this is kind of a summary. I like summaries. You might not like them, but I like to add them. Then I don't have to go back and read the whole thing. So let's go down to the next paragraph. Next paragraph says this: Noblemen and knights of France, though you call yourselves Christians, by your warring without cease, and murder of the other, and innocence beyond count, in your greed for land and gold, you have placed your souls in the utmost peril. But if you may yet find redemption, you or by way of the prowess that you so gravely misuse. Okay. First of all, let's talk about redemption. So, does anybody know what redemption means? It means forgiveness or to be forgiven. Okay, so we're talking about redemption. Redemption means to forgive. It's like forgiveness or to get it right the second time. You're going to redeem someone. You're going to buy them back. So you're going to get it right the second time. So I'll even add that. Okay, it's another example of what redemption means. Okay, so redemption is this idea that you're going to get it right the second time. So if they have to get it right the second time, what did they get wrong the first time? So it says this: Noble men of France, you call yourselves Christian by warring without cease. This whole idea comes directly from our good friends, the knights. Needed to be controlled with the code of chivalry. Okay, we've talked about this before. Knights needed to be controlled with the code of chivalry. That's why we had them. That's why the church came up with the code of chivalry, because they were going around and murdering people. Okay, so the Pope said, hey, you are warring without cease and murdering people. Okay, you can't do that. So you need to find redemption. You need to get forgiveness. You need to get it right the second time by going on this crusade. Okay, this idea of you messed up, you need to fix it. You're going to fix it by going on this crusade. In fact, we know this, and I'm going to add this too, because I'm certain that Mr. Herman told you. If you went on the crusade, your sins would be forgiven. Okay? Remember, we've talked about this before. You wanted your sins to be forgiven. Can't get into heaven with sin. So, if you went on this crusade, your sins would be forgiven. Were they sinful? Yes, they were here murdering innocent people. So the Pope said, hey, if you want to get right with God again, you're going to have to do something to get right with God. What are you going to do? You're going to go on this crusade. Okay? So he's getting them all whipped up, similar to the way that politicians get people all whipped up. We saw this a couple of weeks ago where someone is giving a speech and people get impassioned and they go out and they do things that they wouldn't normally do. Same thing is happening with Pope Urban's speech. He's getting people impassioned and they're going to go out and do what they normally don't do. So let's look at this picture a little bit to kind of get some ideas as to what we're talking about. When we look at Pope Urban's speech, he's speaking to specifically a group of people. So let's look at what kind of people are here in the audience. Let's look at, do we know who the Pope is? I know who the Pope is because the Pope is the guy with the funny hat. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a line from here to here. Draw a little arrow. And then I'm going to put a text box in here and I'm going to say, this is the Pope. Okay? Because he is the one here who's actually talking. So this is the Pope. Now, if you notice, the Pope is outside, right? So what kinds of people are in this crowd? Some of you might notice that this looks like a king. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to draw a line. Maybe I'll make it a different color so we can see it better. Okay, put a little circle around here. Draw a line over here. I'm going to write, this is a king. Okay, so what I need you to do on your own is I need you to finish active reading this. Oh, that says kind. That's clever. Active reading this picture. Who do these people represent? Who does the Pope actually want to go on this crusade? Does he want everyone to go on the crusade? Who is he speaking to? That's what is most important, okay? So when we look at what did Pope Urban say in his speech, we also need to add, who was he talking to? Who is the speech meant for? Is it meant for everybody? Or was he specifically talking to a singular group of people? I need you to finish this up. I need you to submit it to your teacher, and we will get it graded. Thank you, and I hope that you have a good day.